Warm greetings from the high 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. This is live number 2 pertaining to the late Vicky White and Casey White. Casey White is in the custody of law officials. I do not know exactly if he has been extradited back to Alabama, but nonetheless, he is in custody. And Vicky White, who was a corrections officer at the Lauderdale jail, is no longer living. She is believed to have shot herself and succumbed to her injuries yesterday evening at 7:06 p.m. She was pronounced deceased. I will be bringing you said information and stats pertaining to how many fugitives are at large. I will also bring you information pertaining to a homeless man that they used to check into the hotel, and also the fact that they were camping out in a hotel right near the police station. Seems to me that somebody was not aware of what was going on in Alabama, Tennessee, or Indiana. There's an open panel this evening. If you'd like to hit the link to give your opinion pertaining to this finale and what will come out after the fact, such now information about the hotel where they stayed, its proximity to a police station, which is a damn joke, but it is what it is, and the fact they used someone to check in the hotel, which was a very smart idea. But as I said, where they messed up was buying a vehicle that could be traced back to Tennessee and storing it in a car wash with viable cameras. They should have pushed it in the water. That's what they should have done. Too much car swapping. Too many times being seen. All you need to be seen is one time. If somebody thinks it's you, because once the guy thought it was them, take down the tag number. That's all she wrote. First source, News Nation.
Talk about the results of that autopsy. Nick is at our News Nation Smart Board in terms of, again, what's in context here. I mean, there's so many layers to the story.
Adrian, the number today to remember is 300. There are more than 300 fugitives arrested every single day. In fiscal year 2021, there were a total of 84,247 total fugitives arrested or cleared by the U.S. Marshal Service. And let's break that down, because some of those were actually state and local, and others were federal fugitives. In fact, more than 27,000 were federal fugitives, and the rest were state and local. There are escaped fugitives still on the run, like Raymond Abbott, who escaped in 1992. He has been wanted since 1998 after escaping from a maximum security prison in Puerto Rico. Larry Porter is another on the run. He escaped from an Arkansas jail and has been wanted since 1988. And Jose Fernando Bustos Diaz he escaped from a prison in Texas and has been wanted since 2010. These men are all on the U.S. Marshal's 15 most wanted list and are considered armed and dangerous.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button.
84,000. That is a lot of people on the run that have been cleared by the U.S. Marshal Service. One man still missing since 1988. So it can be done. And the gist of the story is that these people, 9 times out of 10, had no help from the inside. There was no money, no selling of a house, no nothing. Just opportunity to squeeze through the gate, crate, car, truck, van, hide out, rob, steal to stay on the lam. It has been done, and it will continue to be done. So think about those who have been on the run and they didn't have an inside person helping, did not have an outside person helping. They did whatever means they had to stay afloat out there underground. In 1988, that's a long time. 30-some plus years. It's a long time to stay underground, undetected. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Couple on the run paid homeless man to book motel room for them. News Nation, source number 2. Thank you for joining me.
Died of a gunshot wound. And right now, a coroner is performing an autopsy to determine whether it was self-inflicted. Meanwhile, Casey White appeared in court today. There he waived his extradition and will be heading back to Alabama. News Nation correspondent Brian Etten has been following this story on the ground, and he joins us now. So, Brian, what happens next in this case?
Well, we've learned, Rutabaga, that Casey White will be on his way back to Alabama today. He will be arraigned very, very quickly at the courthouse in Florence, Alabama, and we are told he will then be sent to a state prison. He will not be going back to that county jail that he got out of. Meanwhile, today we've learned a lot more about what Vicky and Casey were up to here in Evansville. They were staying at this motel here behind me. The Vicky and Casey White manhunt ended in this crash, and now we're getting our first look at what was inside the getaway car. $29,000 in cash and an AR-15, 4 handguns, a taser, and multiple rounds of ammo. The Vanderburgh, Indiana County Sheriff says it all would have ended much, much worse if they hadn't done the pit maneuver and stopped the couple.
And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement.
The sheriff says Vicky White was shot and killed. He says all indications are she took her own life, but he can't say for sure until the coroner finishes his investigation. This is what dispatchers were saying on the radio.
We could hear her on the line saying she had her finger on the trigger. Shot victim. Female is still armed.
Detectives say the couple was staying at this motel just across the street from the sheriff's office. They wore wigs when they were coming in and out. The manager says he never saw them, and it was a local person who rented the room.
And they did not even use fake ID or nothing. Somebody else checked in officially, and then they were visiting them, technically.
New video also coming from the car wash where Vicky and Casey were first spotted in Evansville. You can see Casey standing behind the truck door. The manager of the car wash, James Stinson, believes he was grabbing a gun. Later in the video, you see Vicky pull up in this Cadillac and pick Casey up before they abandon the truck. James, the manager of the car wash, has been talking exclusively with News Nation. Here's what he told Adrian Banker today on Morning in America.
I walked up to the truck, and the windows were down, which I thought was odd. I've never had that happen. And I thought, oh, my God, this could be that guy from Alabama. So I was kind of afraid to look over in the vehicle, thinking he might be in there asleep, or dead, passed out, overdose, whatever. But I finally did look in it. The keys were inside in the ignition.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below.
Said information, News Nation. Second source pertaining to the couple using a homeless man. This could have went a multitude of ways. The man could have turned on them. Could have went to the front desk to say, hey, go clean my room out. See, things can go bump in the night, as we've seen. Where did they find this homeless man? Did they find one coming into town, around the corner, across town? What? Because as I said, this could have turned ugly as well with the man. How much did they pay him? Because he could have said, well, they've got money. They're obviously in trouble or something. Let me go rock the boat. What if he decided to go get some of his friends? They got some money. They paid me. Rent the room. Because obviously the man is not dumb. He rented the room for 14 days. Stay woke. So that means he can possibly count. They got to have money. Who rents a room for 14 days? Don't want to use their own ID unless they're up to no good doing something they ain't got no business. This could also turn ugly with the person that rented the room. So they were risk takers, obviously. It was a smart move to some degree, but you always have to factor in the possibility of something going awry, such as walking someone out of a jail, going to buy a car in another state, taking that car, dumping it, leaving it, go buy another car, take it, park it in a car wash 4 hours away with cameras lurking, finding a homeless person to check you in after buying another car. All risky. Very risque. Being seen picking up Mr. Casey from the car wash in another vehicle, vehicle number 3. Not smart. Too much movement. Too close to the area. 3-4 hours is still too close. You should be farther away. You had a 6-hour head start. Then you should have been 6 hours out. 12 hours. How about 48 hours out somewhere? How about East Coast, Midwest, out west? Throwing that car in the car wash is what got them caught. And a guy who automatically assumed it was them. Don't you find that strange or ironic? Thousands of people are on the run. Thousands of people out here committing crimes in Indiana. Let's just stay with Indiana. And all of a sudden you assumed it was that guy and lady. Of all the people committing crimes in your general demographic. Oh, it must be that couple from Tennessee. Well, you thought that because you saw the damn tag on the damn truck. It said Tennessee. Ting. New tags at that. That's our new tag for those that didn't know. Navy blue. Those are our new state tags. Wow. Very interesting. Source number 3. Oh, mercy. Alabama fugitive stayed at a motel across from the sheriff's office. This was uploaded 2 hours ago. Thank you for joining me.
With this story last night on Rush Hour, bringing you live exclusive coverage from Evansville, Indiana and Lauderdale County, Alabama, as this crash and capture unfolded. Our correspondent Brian Etten was the only reporter live with the key tipster who told police that he thought he saw Casey White at his business. And now you're looking at Evansville, Indiana, where Casey White was caught and Vicky sadly took her own life. We are following up on our exclusive coverage from yesterday. In a moment, we'll speak to Sheriff Rick Singleton in Alabama. But first, let's turn to Brian Etten for a refresher on what we know right now. Brian.
We've just learned that Casey White will be extradited back to Alabama, and it is going to be happening very, very soon. He will be leaving Evansville, where we are, and he should be arriving in Florence, Alabama, around 9:30 tonight, and they will arraign him tonight. The judge is going to come in and arraign him tonight at the courthouse there before he is sent to a state prison. Meanwhile, today we have learned a lot more about what Vicky and Casey were doing here in Evansville over the last several days. They were staying at this motel behind me. The Vicky and Casey White manhunt ended in this crash, and now we're getting our first look at what was inside the getaway car. $29,000 in cash and an AR-15, 4 handguns, a taser, and multiple rounds of ammo. The Vanderburgh, Indiana County Sheriff says it all would have ended much, much worse if they hadn't done the pit maneuver and stopped the couple.
And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement.
The sheriff says Vicky White was shot and killed. He says all indications are she took her own life, but he can't say for sure until the coroner finishes his investigation. This is what dispatchers were saying on the radio.
We could hear her on the line saying she had her finger on the trigger. Shot victim. Female is still armed.
Detectives say the couple was staying at this motel just across the street from the sheriff's office. They wore wigs when they were coming in and out. The manager says he never saw them, and it was a local person who rented the room.
And they did not even use fake ID or nothing. Somebody else checked in officially, and then they were visiting them, technically.
New video also coming from the car wash where Vicky and Casey were first spotted in Evansville. You can see Casey standing behind the truck door. The manager of the car wash, James Stinson, believes he was grabbing a gun. Later in the video, you see Vicky pull up in this Cadillac and pick Casey up before they abandon the truck. James, the manager of the car wash, has been talking exclusively with News Nation. Here's what he told Adrian Bankert today on Morning in America.
I walked up to the truck, and the windows were down, which I thought was odd. I've never had that happen. And I thought, oh my God, this could be that guy from Alabama. So I was kind of afraid to look over in the vehicle, thinking he might be in there asleep, dead, passed out, overdose, whatever. But I finally did look in it. The keys were inside in the ignition.
And it's really interesting what went down at this motel behind me. The sheriff told us that it was actually a homeless man who initially paid for the room for Casey and Vicky, that the couple had paid this homeless person to get the room so that they could avoid going in and avoid the surveillance camera. And I just spoke with a different manager who said that she actually saw Vicky White yesterday, that she came in the office in disguise in a wig with red glasses, and that she was paying for the next week. So obviously, interesting that they've been right here at this motel, which is, by the way, right across the street from the sheriff's office here in Evansville. I want to bring in Sheriff Rick Singleton. This is the sheriff from Lauderdale County, Alabama. He is, of course, the sheriff in the area where all of this began. It was his jail where Vicky got Casey out, and where this whole manhunt began. Sheriff, thank you for joining us. The first thing I want to ask you, we know that this extradition is happening, that Casey White is going to be leaving Indiana. What can you tell us about that? What's the time frame? What will be happening tonight?
We expect them to get back here in Florence around 9:30 to 10. We have a judge on standby who will be on the bench when they arrive. He will be immediately carried before the judge to be arraigned on the escape charges. As soon as that arraignment is over, he'll be placed back in the transport vehicle and transported directly to the Alabama Department of Corrections.
Okay, so you mentioned the Alabama Department of Corrections. Was there a decision made not to take him back to your jail?
Absolutely. He has these charges waiting. This has obviously sort of thrown a monkey wrench in the process as far as his trial for capital murder. So they'll have to take some time to figure all that out and sort it out. But at some time, he will be brought back to our facility.
One thing that alarmed me was talking with the sheriff here in Evansville today, and he said that Casey told them that he planned for there to be a shootout and that he wanted there to be a shootout. That's how he wanted this to end. What can you tell us about that?
I'm not surprised. You know, he's a very dangerous man. We said that from day one. We know what he's capable of, and he's very capable of carrying out that exact plan. I don't know if that was their plan or not. Obviously, if he told the sheriff up there it was, then I take him at his word. But it would not surprise me because he's that kind of guy.
There's a lot of mixed feelings, Sheriff, about Vicky White. I know she worked for your office for almost 2 decades. She was going to be Correctional Officer of the Year for your department this year. A lot of people really liked her and respected her. How are the employees processing it right now? And also, how is her family doing, specifically her mother? Because I had a chance to meet her mother last week, and it was sort of heartbreaking to talk to her. How's she doing now?
I spoke with her mother this morning, and she is still extremely distraught. You know, they are just beyond belief that their daughter would do something like that, as are we, her co-workers. What in the world possessed Vicky to pull a stunt like this? I don't guess we'll ever know now. But, you know, it's just not the Vicky any of us knew, including her parents. You know, this caught everyone totally off guard. You know, she absolutely exploited her position and her knowledge of the system and of the inner workings of our court system, and you know, was able to get him out of jail and stay on the run for 11 days.
Yeah, it's been a wild 11 days, and it was interesting today to learn that they used this homeless man to go in and rent the motel room behind me for them. Have you learned of any other instances where other people were involved in all of this over the last 11 days?
I have not. I don't know if the Marshal Service got any tips or any information regarding that or not, but I'm not personally aware of any.
And we know that they found $29,000 cash. We have the picture in the car along with a bunch of weapons, but it was $29,000. It was my understanding that she was possibly on the run with $90,000. Do we have any idea where the rest of that money is?
No, obviously not. I would assume we know that they left the Tennessee area where the Ford Edge was abandoned in that black pickup truck. But that truck was not stolen. So I guess it's logical to assume they bought that truck, probably with cash. Where they got the Cadillac that they were eventually caught in, I don't know. But there again, if it wasn't stolen, they obviously probably purchased it.
Yeah, it appears they at least purchased a couple of these cars along the way, so that would make sense that that's where some of the cash went. Sheriff Rick Singleton, thanks for joining us again. I'm sure it's got to be a feeling of relief knowing that this man will be on his way back to Alabama tonight and that all of this is going to be over.
Absolutely, and thank you all for the coverage you've given this case, because the media has been a tremendous help to us in locating them and getting him back in custody.
You got it. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, so Rudabeh, you heard the sheriff say Casey White will be extradited tonight. He should be arriving in Florence, Alabama around 9:30 tonight, and they are going to have a special court hearing tonight. The judge is coming in to get this process going.
All right, Brian, great reporting. Thank you. And in case you missed our exclusive coverage, head to our website, newsnationnow.com or our News Nation Now app. You can also sign in for news alerts to stay on top of more stories like this one.
All right, everybody, News Nation Now, all three sources. You can go to my community board for the said uploads. Where do we begin? Let's start with the money. Was that all she had? 60,000, 90,000. What is the exact amount? Did she leave some to her mom? Did she have more? Because as I said, was she a beneficiary of her ex-husband's estate life insurance policy? Did she have life insurance on him? Ex-coworker said she was dark, calculating. Would she be the type to put insurance on a man that's dying? Would he have left her money? Left her as a beneficiary? The fact that he said he wanted to have a shootout. Well, I thought he had the opportunity to shoot out once he realized they were ramming the car. Isn't that the perfect time to pull a gun out? She had a gun. The fact they kept the money in the car is interesting. God forbid they were carjacked. Somebody would have had a lucky day. And as I said with the homeless man, that could have went awry as well. The guy could have came knocking on the door, wanting more money, bringing friends, waited on them. Very risque. And as I said, you can weight things 1,000 ways. What is good, what is bad, what is smart. The smartest thing was to have left him alone, Casey White. Found somebody else to focus your time on, but she did not do that. Too late for that now. Can't go back. Can't go back. The fact they chose a hotel right across from the sheriff's department, that made no sense to me. You mean to tell me you've traveled all this way, you're looking around trying to find a safe place to hide out, and you're going to pick a hotel across from the sheriff's department? You mean to tell me you did not look to see that that's the sheriff's department across the street? So one would have to ask, did they make it there dark 30 and just were out of sorts, not thinking, not paying attention to their surroundings? Which goes back to what I've always said. Everybody's not cut out for that kind of life, being on the run. You have to be aware of your faculties. Everything is going to be noted by somebody else, such as the way you look, the way you talk, your accent. Things that obviously they weren't paying attention to, because that's a big no-no. Who's going to park the car across the street or near a sheriff's department, police station, so if something gets funky, somebody gets to talking crazy? Hell, they can walk across the street. They don't even have to get in their damn patrol cars. Just get up across the damn highway, across the road. You can't make this stuff up. Now, this is where you'll be considered a dumb criminal. Hiding the car, stashing the car in a car wash with cameras, dumb idea in the city. Very dumb, dumb, dumb. And at one point, I thought I saw plastic on that window on the driver's side in the car wash. So I thought, what, did they break out the window? But they're saying they bought the car, bought the Ford Edge, possibly bought this Cadillac. So she spent a nice lump sum of money. $6,000 on the edge. Probably paid 10 or more thousand for the truck. 6 or 7 for the Cadillac. So like I said, at least under 30,000 for 3 cars. Well, there's your 60,000 right there. But I still believe she had more than 90. Because she would have been frugal, as they said, and not spent a lot of money before checking all the money out of the bank accounts. And you have to also count she had checking and savings besides the sale of the house. A frugal person is going to have checkings and savings, so there would have been more than 90,000, unless she left her mother some money. And the mother's distraught, as you hear Sheriff Singleton say. She's stunned. And the way he words it, this stunt she pulled, it's as if he's talking about a child. She's not a child, Sheriff. I know you're stunned, you're shocked, some of you down there in Alabama, but she was not a child. And this is more than just a stunt. When I think of a stunt, I think of things that children would do. Pull a prank, pull a whammy over you. Kind of like a child getting behind the wheel of the car, don't have a driver's license, drives down the street and bangs up somebody's garbage can. That's a stunt. This is a whole different level. Corrections officer walking an inmate out and disappearing into the night. Carrying heavy artillery as to say, I'm going to go out with a bang if need be. But as you see, they had guns, I'm sure, inside of the car, and there was no shootout. Because they probably were stunned when that truck by U.S. Marshals rammed into them, and they realized, wow, they found us. Can you imagine what they were thinking at that time? Damn, we were doing so good. Obviously, they were not. Casey's on his way back to Alabama, if not already there, because I didn't check to see Alabama's time, if they're on Central Time, I believe. So that would be an hour behind me. Not going back to Lauderdale jail. And you hear Singleton say, threw a wrench in the plan. What do you mean? He doesn't have any business back in your jail, sir. You all don't have any control down there. We're going to keep it real. We're not going to sugarcoat nothing. You have no control over the situation down there. And what fool would send him back there? Hell no. They ain't going to let him stay there. Nobody cares about another trial. It's common sense. They'll worry about it when the time comes. He's going to be arraigned, and he's going into the place he feared and hated the most, which was state prison. And I tell people that's where he needs to be, because this jail in Alabama, they're too lax. It's like a playhouse. It's probably a place where people actually go steal stuff just so they can have a place to sleep. And you've heard people do that. Commit petty crimes just so they can have a warm bed, 2-3 meals a day, 2-3 showers a week. That's okay if you're homeless, vagabond, drifter. That's what this jail appears to be, a playhouse. Inmates sleeping on the floor. Why? See, stuff that don't make no damn sense. Go put a bid into the state, your governor. While you were asking for reward money, you should have been asking that woman for money to build a bigger jail. See, your priorities aren't straight. 50 years in the business, and you don't think to go ask for monies for your own damn jail? Come on now. Possibly you need more workers. As cities, towns grow, crime grows. So, crime picks up. More people on drugs now, meth, heroin, fentanyl, pills. You need more room, more space. So, that's what you should have been talking about with the governor besides the reward money. hey, I need money. Need a bigger jail facility, more workers, whatever you need, you should have put your bid in. And it's not to knock the sheriff, but something's not right down there. And I think we all know that. And the proof is in the pudding. This woman's gone 6 hours. Nobody knows nothing. It's as if she went and took him to the mall. Come on, baby. Let's go to the mall. Get you some shoes. We'll check back into the jail in 6 hours. What the hell? Then next thing you know, they're in another state buying another damn car. Then they're taking that truck going to damn Indiana. Stowing it away in a damn car wash with cameras. Then we got a nosy manager looking and lurking. Hey, what's going on over there? Why is this truck still here? Come on now. Too obvious. Too obvious. The worst mistake they made was taking that truck and stowing it in that damn car wash. But this is what happens when, as I said, you're not accustomed to that life of being on the run. See, there are people who are very good at manipulating, conning, being quiet, never opening their mouth, never saying anything. You've met people like that. You ask them a question. Why? Why you want to know? You got kids? Why? Why you want to know? Is your mom and dad alive? Why? Why you want to know? They don't want you to know nothing. What's your name? Why? See, you got to be cut out for that. They weren't cut out. Now, I give her credit. She did good to get him out. Because by protocol, 2 people were supposed to be escorting he and others around the jail, out of the jail. And as I said, has this happened before? Has she taken him out before? Has she taken other inmates out before alone? Has other jailers taken inmates out alone? Something to be curious about under the circumstances. You want to join me? Give your opinion pertaining to the death of Vicky White, the apprehension of her counterpart, cohort, lover, Casey White. Hit the link. Thank you for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAngie129 Cash App. All super chats, stickers are welcome during this live. Almost 90 viewing. Thank you so much. Hit the like button. Thank you. Very wicked story. Very wicked story. And as I told you, the world is different now. People think different, act different. People are cold, heartless, self-centered, cocky, narcissists. This will happen again. Self-serving. This will happen again. This will most definitely happen again. Just 1 second, please. Well, you know, everything's about interpretation. Some people may feel like what she did was pretty smart because they've never heard of anybody doing that before. Some people have, made a way out of the jail on their own, not accompanied by an official. If you have something you'd like to say pertaining to the content at hand, pertaining to the apprehension of Casey White, the death of Vicky White, his travels back to Alabama to stay in a state prison until going to trial, and also the new charges of breaking out of prison, homeless person renting the room for them. The fact she went in and paid for the next week, dangerous. Because now somebody's looking at her like, who are you? You're not the guy that checked in. And then you hear Mr. Singleton talking about, well, they were basically visiting him. How's that going to work? With all your valuables in the room, and what? You want me to believe they all stayed in the room, had the homeless man staying in the room too? That wouldn't have been a good idea. That wouldn't have been a good idea at all. That's why I said that was a recipe for disaster with the homeless person, because we don't know if the homeless person got on somewhere, could have caused trouble, want more money. Hey, I know you're up to something. You're doing something wrong. See, you don't know. We don't even know where they picked the homeless person up, where the homeless person was at the time of the car chase. And as I said, that was risque as well. Going on an open road, chasing a fugitives. How was that more mild than approaching them at the hotel? And so you also have to ask that question. When did you actually know that that was them at the hotel? Why didn't you approach them at the car? Before they even got in, you could have just approached them, said, hey, I want to talk to you. We're U.S. Marshals. Can we ask you a few questions? Once they're both guarded by 5, 6 officers, what are they going to do? Nothing. If one had a weapon, wanted to pull it out, it just would have been a showdown right there in the damn parking lot. Not on an open road highway. Because that could have turned dangerous. You trying to ram your car into a moving car. If God forbid had one of them decided to shoot out of the window. But it didn't happen that way. Maybe he's all fluff talk. I don't know. Very interesting storyline. If you have a comment, you have an opinion pertaining to this matter at hand, please hit the link. Give me your opinion. That is the purpose of me dropping the link. So anybody new, never talked on this network, wants to give their opinion, his or her opinion, you can hit the link. Feel free to show yourself if you like. It is an option. You don't have to show yourself, but it'd be nice for somebody to come up, hit the link, show him or herself, be heard. It's early in the evening, still a little bit. Well, it's kind of late here, so I'm sorry. Almost 10 p.m. But either way, voice your opinion. Tell me what you think, what happened. Where do you think the case went terribly awry? What mistakes did they make? What is the sheriff's responsibility? Did they drop the ball at this jail? Tennessee, did they drop the ball? Indiana, did they drop the ball? The Indiana sheriff seems a bit cocky, bragging about his men, women, but things could have still gone bad because they had a lot of artillery and they weren't carrying it around for show. Just didn't use it by the grace of God. So we're going to be thankful for that. Yes, they didn't use. There was no shootout. Amen. But he seemed a little rough around the edges, Indiana sheriff. Like he said, I'm only concerned about my people. I ain't worried about the fugitives. Which, okay, I get that. And he really didn't want to answer questions about anything. Nothing. Just, guess he was glad it's over with. Hey, yeah, come on, get him. Take him back. He ain't committed no serious crimes here. Basically, he said, I don't want him here. I don't want the trouble. I don't want to shuffle the paperwork. Wild story. Very wild story. But sadly, a woman has been left now without her child. I wonder if she called her to let her know that she was safe. I'm sure in a million years she never thought she'd be hearing that her child took her own life. And that's terrible for an elderly person, or any person for that matter that has a child, to hear that your child killed him or herself. It's the worst news you can get besides hearing that your child died, was murdered. But so far, that's how it's looking. But as they said, autopsy was performed today. We will wait to see what the coroner has to say pertaining to manner of death. Slow roll tonight. That's the set information I have pertaining to the homeless man checking them in basically. The hotel was across the street from the sheriff's department. Very wicked. Very wicked information. Also brought you stats pertaining to how many people are at large right now in the United States, how many have been at large in the past year, and how many of these people have broken out of jail with no aid from an inside source or outside source. So it can be done because it has been done. And the sick part is these people mingling amongst us, and they're on the run, either by breaking out of jail or avoiding court, bond hearings, bail hearings, said matters. Very dangerous. Very dangerous indeed. Going to see what else I can find. There was some other content I didn't play today. My device was acting up. There's something beeping out there. I don't know what that noise is. Alabama community shocked by Vicky White's decisions. Morning in America. This was uploaded 13 hours ago. News Nation. It's the source.
Were captured, or rather found, in this jailbreak that we've been following for days now. We have Kelsey Kernstein here, of course, and we also have criminal defense attorney Matt Fakuri. He is here to talk about exactly what we can expect next for Casey White. But we want to start with Kelsey right now. Kelsey, you actually went inside that Alabama community and inside that jail where Casey White was being held, where Vicky White worked. For the people who live in this community, I mean, it's a small town, right? They're not used to something like this.
This is a town of about 40,000 people. I mean, this is more media than they've seen in quite some time. They're absolutely shocked that any of this would have happened. But I also had a chance to speak with an investigator last night who said, Casey's, this is what he, quote, Casey's elevator don't go all the way to the top. He's not playing with a full deck of cards from the time he was a child. Now, all the investigators that I spoke to says this is not a sociopath, said that this is a mentally unstable person who is very dangerous when he's on drugs. And by drugs, I was told that that drug choice is meth. And I've also heard that Casey is kind of a big teddy bear. That's what I've heard from multiple investigators, which is interesting to point out. But I have to point out that Casey White was in the Limestone County Jail the prison for 75 years. It's kind of an unusual sentencing. He got 75 years in prison. This is 3 consecutive charges of 25 years. That's a crime spree that happened in 2015. We know that he invaded a home. We know that he shot at people. He hijacked cars. But then while he was in prison, he wrote a letter confessing to cutting Ridgway's throat.
Ridgway is a woman. That he killed, Connie Ridgway.
Yes.
That he confessed to killing.
Yes.
Years ago, like in 2015 or something.
He is suspected of killing her. He had a confession, but it's interesting to point out that some of his confession does not match what actually happened. She was hit by a hammer, as well as her this is graphic, her throat was slit. But he did not say that he hit her with a hammer. So there's just a lot of questions.
But he did say that he killed her.
Yes. But he also said in the Limestone County Jail that he killed other people. They went to go look for the bodies. They never found them.
Yeah, clearly, again, Matt, this is somebody who has a long criminal history. It's somebody who's been troubled since their youth. And when you use drugs, I mean, there can be a whole bunch of stories that you create in your mind. But in terms of the legality of this case, he was already awaiting trial on this case involving Connie Ridgway, this woman that we're speaking about.
Correct. So he was already serving a sentence of 75 years for the offenses that she just mentioned. It was a robbery, it was attempt murder, and various other violent offenses. In addition to that, he has a pending capital murder charge. So that was set to go to trial in June. It'll probably be delayed, but it's a capital case. It's a death penalty case. Now he's facing these charges. These charges will be escape. It'll be forgery and identity theft based on the accomplice liability. It could be fleeing and eluding. It'll be conspiracy and several other charges, possibly even on the federal level as well. So he's in a world of trouble right now. But to be very candid, the capital case is more serious and it serves more of a serious penalty, obviously, than the current charges he will be facing.
So that's what my question was. Does it even matter? I mean, do any of these charges, escaping his cell and going off on this, this evading of officers, does that even matter when he's facing 75 years from previous charges?
Well, it always matters. He has to be held accountable for his actions in this incident. However, it's not going to be as serious as far as a penalty is concerned compared to the capital charges. He's already on a 75-year sentence. I don't know what they're going to charge him with for this escape charge, but I doubt it's going to reach the 75-year sentence. And I don't think any of these charges are going to be capital-based. Typically, murder is the only capital. Sometimes sex offenses are, but he's charged with murder, which is a capital-based offense. None of these offenses, the escape, the forgery, anything else that they might conjure up on him is going to be a capital case.
But what about in terms of where he'll be now confined? Because clearly there's something that's going to have to change at this Alabama detention center. And I'm sure they're having all kinds of meetings to discuss how Vicky White, that corrections officer, was able to just leave. Essentially, nobody stopped her, nobody questioned her. Would he be detained back at that facility, do you think? Or would he go to some sort of, higher security federal location?
No, well, first of all, they're going to have to extradite him. So if he's still in Indiana, which I think he is, he'll be there probably for a couple days until he's extradited back to Alabama. Once he goes back to Alabama, he's going to be charged in that county. He's essentially going to have to stay in that facility. Mm-hmm. What I expect is that there'll be very high security measures and precautions to make sure he doesn't go anywhere, but he'll be back there.
And Singleton also said last night.
You're talking about the sheriff again.
The Sheriff Singleton said he plans to have him handcuffed and shackled morning through the night. And that's even if a civil rights attorney has to get involved.
Well, like 24-hour surveillance
24 hours a day.
Point. It's just, he had nothing to lose, is what Sheriff Singleton told us early on in the days of this manhunt. But in terms of a defense for whoever's representing Casey White, is there a defense?
There's always a defense. This defense, I think, would be based on his mental capacity, his possible lack of medication, and apparently his drug use, his self-medication with meth or whatever it is. It doesn't sound here, and I don't know if I have enough to say this, but it doesn't sound like he was the mastermind here. It sounds like he was more manipulated. They're probably going to base the defense theory on that. It sounds like maybe Vicky White was more of the mastermind behind this. He sounds like more of an impulsive guy based on his mental health history, based on his drug use. It sounds like he's more reactive. So if there is a defense, I think it would be based on something like that, based on the fact that he wasn't really the mastermind behind this. He has a mental health issue.
And then, of course, once we dig into this case a little bit, it could be seen that they both manipulated each other for different purposes, clearly with the complicated relationship that they had. Matt, good to see you. Kelsey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching.
All right, everybody. That's News Nation, Fourth Source. Story or Ignite, where are you calling me from?
Idaho.
Idaho, welcome. Let's start with what he said in this. He said, I believe he's a defense attorney because he's leaning towards he has a mental problem, blah, 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 manipulated.
Right.
And I do believe they both manipulated one another. Does he have a defense, ma'am?
I believe to one degree, yeah.
What would it be?
I believe because she was the one that had all the resources available.
Okay.
And she gave that opportunity to him.
Okay.
I believe anybody that was in his position and had been given that option to go on a get out of there.
Yeah.
Anybody would have took it, especially when
you couldn't have one without the other.
Right. Especially when you're looking at life, that's a huge temptation just to be like all in and heck yeah, let's do this. But I just can't believe that they didn't plan it better than they did.
Yeah. Well, like I said, to really plan it thoroughly, she would have had to take it off from work to make sure there would be no backtracking.
Yeah.
Because you see buying all these vehicles led to this, throwing it in public led to somebody who keeps up with the news.
Right.
So just assume once he saw the Tennessee tag, he had already heard the story. Now imagine somebody who hadn't seen the story. Wouldn't have been no big deal.
Right. Yeah. And then to leave their truck halfway parked in the car wash.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But see, it had Tennessee tags on it. That guy followed the story. Do you know how many people I've talked to have not heard the story? You see where I'm going?
Right. Yeah.
It would have just got towed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what caught his attention, he said it was halfway parked in the bay and halfway sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what grabbed his attention, because he's like, people just don't do that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, you're not going to leave your car there anyway, because a whole day went by still just sitting there.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is, no matter how it was parked, the fact it's been left too long and it had Tennessee tags, he's been following the news. Imagine somebody who never followed the news, the car just would have gotten towed to a lot.
Yeah.
And they never would have followed through because nobody reported the car stolen.
Yes.
Do you remember that's what he said? The police said initially? Well, it's not stolen. You have to show it yourself. Pay yourself. We will come after 48 hours.
Yep. And they're sticklers about that, because I've had to have vehicles towed, and in order to have it towed, I had to have it a sign that said that it couldn't be left, a vehicle couldn't be left on my property for more than 48 hours.
Okay.
So
what do you think about her killing herself, if indeed she did kill herself?
You know, this whole thing is just brought up so much for me, because I was in kind of a similar situation in 2020, January 6th of 2020, with my son. He got in a lot of trouble with, it's just a long story, but he ended up getting shot by the county, the state, the DEA officer shot through his windshield, the city police. So he was shot 5 times and he lived through it and wasn't paralyzed. But I have video footage of him walking alongside the mountain on a trail with a gun to his head.
Well, what was the reason for them shooting through the windshield?
You know, it was 4:00 in the afternoon. He pulled up to a Chevron. They had pinged his phone because they were informed that there was going to be a drug exchange.
Okay.
So I can talk about this now, because he's currently incarcerated in a federal prison because he was caught with a substantial amount of drugs on him. So at 4:00 in the afternoon in a Chevron parking lot, the DEA officer in an unmarked vehicle in unmarked clothing ran up on, my son went into the Chevron to cash a lottery ticket, came out, got in his car, and all of a sudden my son hears somebody banging on the back of his car, yelling at him by his name, pointing a gun at him, telling him to get the F out of the car. So my son thought he was getting robbed.
Okay.
So he took off, backed up to get out of the parking lot, went to go forward, and the DEA officer shot through his windshield 4 times. Shot him in his shoulder.
So were they in the unmarked car? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. He was in an unmarked vehicle that was parked over by the gas pumps where he ran from. And so my son took off out of the parking lot, and then another vehicle, my son said it was just a large black military vehicle, which we found out was like the cat type thing that they use for tactical force, because the DEA was involved, the martial law was the federal marshal.
So let me ask you this: was he there making a drug deal, ma'am?
At the Chevron? No.
So what are you saying? They had the wrong person?
No, they followed him from a reservation casino.
Okay.
But it was a good 15 minutes away that they followed him. They waited till he got into population, which just Chevron was in the center of town, the hub of the city. They waited till he got there, and the plan was he was supposed to be pulled over by a black and white, but he wasn't. That DEA officer got trigger happy and got his adrenaline running and jumped out of the vehicle at the gas pumps and ran over to his car because he didn't want him to get away.
Well, let me ask you something.
That's what started.
Did your husband, I mean, sorry, did your son at that time sell drugs?
No, he had drugs in the car, but he didn't sell drugs. He
So I'm
hadn't sold.
kind of confused at what's really going on. He's in a casino. They followed him what, to the casino?
No. Okay, so he goes to the casino, and he does a drug exchange, money, what have you.
So you say he bought drugs? I'm
Yeah.
kind of also where you're going with this. Did he sell or buy the drugs at the casino?
He bought the drugs from a guy that came from LA.
Okay, so the guy from LA set him up. Is that where we're going with this?
I believe so, but the guy from LA got pulled over right after they separated ways, and he got pulled over, taken to jail. Then he got bailed out and went back to LA and ended up murdered.
Okay, so you believe that perhaps they were watching the guy from LA and your son just happened to get caught up in what was a sting watching the guy from LA. Is that what
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I just know what my son pled guilty of.
You never inquired? You never asked your son to inquire?
Well, we've been on recorded phone lines. We can't write in letters. Okay. I won't know anything until he gets out. As far as how that all transpired and how did he meet these people, and because he was doing good, then he relapsed. 2 months later, I'm getting a phone call that he got shot. Okay. And yeah.
You know what the drug was, ma'am?
Yeah, it was methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really, he's lucky to be alive considering many people have died from those drugs.
Oh, I know. And he, like I said, he had got shot 5 times. The first time was in the shoulder after the DA officer shot through the windshield as he was driving out of the parking lot. Then the truck that came out of the motel, the undercover truck, there was another undercover officer that was in an undercover vehicle, came full throttle and rammed him on the side, just like they did with the whites. T-boned him, and all the breath left his body and everything went white. And he said then he felt fire, and he looked down, and all he seen was blood, and he grabbed a backpack and jumped out of the car, took off running, jumped the fence, ran across 4 lanes of highway traffic, down into a ravine, down onto a trail that goes on the bottom of a mountain. And then the officers there's like 60 officers all everywhere.
You should have known that was going to be worse, running.
Yeah. But
let me ask you this. Where was he shot and what was in the backpack?
He was shot in his shoulder.
Okay.
And the drugs were in the backpack.
So how much drugs did he have, ma'am?
The amount I'm not too sure about. I forget about the quantity just because I don't, as a mom, it had
to be a nice amount because who needs a backpack for a small amount of drugs?
Yeah, and he's in federal prison.
Yeah, so that means it was a lot then. So could you accept the fact that possibly your son was trafficking and not just a user, doing both?
Yeah, I totally accept that. And he accepts that responsibility as well.
So that's what I'm asking. Was he trafficking and using?
Yeah. One hand was feeding the other. He was an addict.
I got you.
He was like the Robin Hood. He was selling drugs, making money, paying people's rent, helping people out. He was the good, like I said, the Robin Hood that wanted to help people.
So do you have empathize? Are you empathizing with these two, Casey and Vicky? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, because it's not.
Tell me why. Are you only empathizing because your son has been in a similar scenario with breaking the law? Is that what you're telling us?
No, I hope that there's no correctional officers that will give my son that opportunity if because of where he's at. That would just be horrible.
I don't understand what you're saying. You hope that what, sweetheart?
I would hope that, like, where my son's at, that this couldn't happen to him. Because this Casey could have ended
Your
up.
son, but your son is not getting ready to break out, is he?
No.
Confusing what you're saying. Okay.
No, he's not. But it could happen to anybody's son or daughter that is incarcerated, and where my son is
most people who are incarcerated do not try to break out of jail. They don't get fired. They just do their time.
Right. But given an opportunity, they would. But the opportunity.
I'm sure.
Winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But the thing with the prison system and stuff is where my son is at. I am on a Facebook page, and made friends with a lady over in Montana, and she has a son in the same prison, and her son had to be moved because the correctional officers were bringing in drugs, and they're in cahoots with the gang leaders.
That's how they get in.
Yeah, and her son was getting all tore up in there and ended up in a huge drug debt. And they were having to take him to his bunk every night because he was just wasted on drugs. And
that's terrible to be in there.
Yeah.
To be high. That means when you get out, you're just as worse as when you went in.
Exactly. So my son is actually in PC, which is protective custody, and it's a 23-1 lockdown. So he's been there for 6 months. And
how much time has he gotten, ma'am?
He's got 5 years.
Okay, he's in protective custody because of what reason?
Because he got shot in his shoulder and he can't defend himself because that arm is disabled.
Okay. Has he been threatened in any way since he's been in there?
What's that?
Has he been threatened in any way since being in there?
No, but they took him to one of the most dangerous prisons there is for gang violence. They don't fight there. They just shank you.
I see, shank you. Okay.
So instead of when he
I'm sure Casey's not happy because allegedly he wasn't getting fed where he was and getting shanked where he was allegedly.
He was.
That was his complaint to her. Yes.
Huh.
But I don't know if that's true or not. I have no verification. Yeah. How do you feel about what she did? Do you believe what she did was wrong? Aiding him out? I beg your pardon?
I don't.
Why not?
I can see why she did what she did.
That ain't what I asked you. I said, do you think what she did was wrong?
Yeah, I think that she was the one that was in charge, and she's the one that had the keys and all the resources, like I said. So, and he was obviously mentally challenged.
Okay,
I think.
Maybe I should ask you one more time. Do you think her aiding him out of the jail was wrong?
Yes.
Should she have gotten time for what she did?
Yes.
Do you think they were in love?
I think she was.
Okay. Do you think she had regrets at the moment when she decided to shoot herself?
Yeah, I think she was embarrassed.
What about him? Do you think he had any regrets?
No.
Okay.
I think he was just along for the ride.
Okay. Because he didn't have anything to lose, so it didn't matter?
Right.
So you don't think he really wanted to be free?
Well, yeah. But he knew he was 6'9" too, and 340 pounds. Yeah. And he knew that his chances of blending into society was great.
He could have laid low. See, that's where they messed up. He had no business ever stepping out of the car. She should have went and found a place to live first.
Right. First. I totally agree.
You can walk to the store, Uber to a store. You don't even have to have a car. You got money, you can Uber. So long as you keep a little cash on you, some type of debit card or something, or a green dot card, however it goes. So that should have been first and foremost. She should have went and found a place to sleep first.
Right. Yeah.
Before doing all the selling of the house, all this so crazy nonsense. Well, let's just say once she got the money from selling the house, she should have found a place to live first. That way you could have had a direct place to go without walking around, car hopping, car swapping.
Oh, yeah. like a cabin or something,
Whatever.
loaded down with food and, whatever.
She should have took off from work. Once she got her money and she was coming up with a timeline of when she thought she was going to make this exit, she should have went and purchased a place outright, not renting, because there's always somebody who has to come around, fix something. You don't want no eyewitnesses coming around for no apparent reason.
Right.
How do you feel about them using the homeless man to rent the room?
I think they seen an opportunity and they were desperate, and he was desperate and probably didn't really care what their story was.
Yeah. But you know what? That could have turned on them too, because he's a stranger.
Right.
He could have came back, banging on the door, wanting more money.
They probably figured he didn't have no access to TV or any of that. So he probably
they had money.
Right.
But they paid for 14 days. Then we found out she went back the next week to pay herself. That means she didn't trust finding the homeless man or giving the homeless man the money to go to the front desk to pay. So see, all that was risque because you had to be in eyesight of him paying the front desk to make sure he didn't run off with the money.
Yeah.
So see, that was still dangerous because now you're in public. You got to watch. You got to be in the room. You got to be somewhere to watch to make sure he's paying for the room. Then what you're going to do, walk up and ask, hey, did you pay for the room? Then they're looking at him, probably at them like, well, why are they asking questions? See, all this was risque.
Oh, yeah. And where's he at now?
Don't know.
What
about the fact that they picked a place across from the sheriff's department?
I know that's crazy to me, but you know what? Back in my running and gunning days, because, I've not been the perfect angel and I've got my history with addiction and whatnot. And, but I had friends that lived right next door to the police station, and there was so many people that just party down all night long, every day, all day, all week long, and it was like the cops didn't even pay attention to what was going on right next door to them.
Well, I was wondering if maybe they came in the evening.
Yeah,
to be, less noticeable, so they weren't really paying attention to the location of the sheriff's department.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like you'd be on high alert and pay attention to every little.
You have to be, no matter what time of day it is. You can't just let your guard down. That's why I said they weren't prepared for that life. She had the money. She mapped it out the best she could, I guess, with her ability. But it takes a lot of planning to try to stay underground. That's why I said with the money she had, getting a place would have been more feasible than all that car hopping and swapping.
Oh yeah, buying vehicles and leaving them. And why didn't they just take the vehicle, like you said earlier, and push it into a river or into a lake or something? And
I don't know. I just find it strange.
Instead of leaving it plain in sight, just for leaving another clue behind, And I always think, because when I watch and listen to things like this, I'm always like, oh, they were so stupid. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I got a criminal mind. But I've never been to jail. I've never been arrested. I don't have any kind of record. So, but I always think that I could be smarter about it.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are like that. They would think the same.
But, when you're in that situation, your adrenaline's going and you've got to be grounded and alert and be able to think fast on your feet, and not be hanging out in a motel room for 14 days like they planned, Even when I go on camp trips, I'm like 2 days, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go. Next place, when I'm on the road like that.
Okay.
So I just don't understand why they got high centered. That's what it seems like to me, that they just got kind of high centered there.
Right.
And luckily it didn't end up in a shootout because there was a lot of traffic. When you see the video footage of them pulling him out of the car, and boy, he's huge, but there's cars just all over the place.
Okay.
And it could have been really, really bad. I mean, like you said, why why did they let it go out to public streets when they could have handled it right there at the
that make
hotel?
no sense, because their opposition may be, well, they had a lot of artillery in the room. But my thing is, you saw them outside, and once you made a positive ID that was her or him, you should have bum rushed them right then.
Yeah.
You should have had at least, 6, 7 people already there.
Yeah, the SWAT team.
In case it was.
Yeah. Because they could have took hostages and all sorts of stuff. But
they could have ran into somebody. She could have went full-fledged. Ran into a building, traffic, oncoming cars. Somebody could have been crossing the street, anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel really bad for her mom. I'm just blessed, and I don't know how my son made it through what he did, and watching the video footage of what he went through, and had a gun to his head and it's a miracle that he's alive. He was shot by high-powered rifles and shot in the back twice. Luckily, he's not paralyzed and in assisted living for the rest of his life. I've told him, I've expressed to him, because he spent 2 months in the hospital in an induced coma. And it was a long healing process. But it could have been a lot worse. He could have ended up paralyzed. Right. And, seeing him with that gun to his head, I'm just so thankful that he didn't do it, even though he's in the situation there that he's in right now. Because, living in a cage like an animal is not no life for anybody, and unfortunately addiction, that's where it leads a lot of people, is to that place that they know. And, they get out, they try to do good. It's a slippery slope. They're walking the tightrope. They're doing the job. They're paying their child support, all their fines, all their probation, everything. And then, it's just, they're getting hammered from every direction. And then they just on that slippery slope, and they can't find a place to rent because they're a felon, and they can't, it's just, it's hard to blend and be a part of society after you've got a criminal record. And it's just hard to find jobs. It's hard to find a place to rent that's not in a drug infested neighborhood. And that's what happened to my son. Is he had a very good job, working really long hours, making good money, being a welder. And he was with a girl that he had been with for like 4 years, and they really loved each other and stuff. And she was an alcoholic, and she didn't see that her alcoholism was a problem because she was a functioning alcoholic, but when she would drink, she would have the times where she would get just abusive towards him. He'd have to go to work with black eyes and scratch marks and shit like that on his neck. And he finally just got sick of it, and had to get out of there. And in order for him to get out of there, he had to find a place to rent. We had no family where he was at. So after 2 weeks of looking, he finally had to settle for this rat hole apartment from a slumlord over in a drug infested neighborhood. And that's all it took, a breakup in a relationship and an apartment in the bad neighborhood. And unfortunately, that's where it lands people. And I don't know where all this is gonna end up.
About the lady that allegedly he killed, Miss Connie Ridgway.
And I don't know much about what happened there.
Yeah. I'm gonna read a little bit, and then you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
This is uploaded May 5th. Lauderdale County District Attorney Chris Connolly said today there are no plans to re-examine the confession of Casey Cole White, made 2 years ago to a 2015 murder for hire in Rogersville. Casey White was charged in 2020 with 2 counts of capital murder in the brutal October 23rd, 2015 slaying of Connie Jane Ridgway. White has been on the run for 7 days since he walked out of the Lauderdale County Detention Center on Friday, April 29th, with Vicky White, a jail official. It says, on Wednesday, Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton said Vicky White spoke with escaped capital murder suspect Casey White in prison by phone before helping him escape last week, with indications their plan had been sometime in the planning. There was communication between the two of them when he was in prison, and she was still working here, Singleton said. Ridgway, 59, was found dead in her home at the Meadowland Apartments on Prince Drive in Rogersville, located across the street from Lauderdale County High School's football field. Rogersville police were called to Ridgway's apartment around 6 p.m. that Friday by a neighbor requesting a welfare check. She was found slain in her living room. The arrest came, Connolly said at the time, after an investigator with the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office received a letter in June 2020 from White. Now, mind you, this is 5 years later. At the time, he was serving a 75-year sentence at William Donaldson Correctional Facility for a multi-state crime spree that happened the same year he is accused of killing Ridgway. So that's very interesting. Crime spree and allegedly killing her the same year. During an interview at the prison, White confessed to the crime, and his statements matched certain evidence at the scene that was not released. The arrest came after the case was presented to a grand jury. White indicated he was paid to kill Ridgway. Connolly said at a 2020 news conference that he did not know why White decided to come forward and talk with investigators. However, on Thursday, Connolly was asked whether Vicky White's law enforcement connection may have cast doubt on the veracity of Casey Cole White's confession. Singleton also said yesterday that Vicky White maintained contact by phone with Casey White while he was incarcerated at Donaldson. Could Casey White have made a false confession using information supplied by Vicky White in order to be sent back to Lauderdale County? Very good question. Connolly waved away the suggestion, saying there are no plans to re-examine the case. Our case against him is not based solely on his statement, he said. Connolly said he could not disclose anything further except to say that since 2020, Casey Cole White had given a reason for his confession, which Connolly would not disclose. Very interesting. Connolly said he never even questioned the confession's legitimacy, not based on what I know about the case, he said. Given what he knows about Casey Cole White, Connolly said he is hoping for the best outcome in the search for the two. Of course, you know, this is older content. I know we've got an understanding team of law enforcement agencies who are working night and day to complete the task before them, he said. You want to be optimistic about the outcome. Note to readers, if you purchase something through one of our affiliate links, we may earn a commission. Okay, that's crazy. That's advertising. So right now, this is what we have, that they have more than just his confession. They have something at the scene that obviously was never disclosed to the public that he possibly mentioned. He gave a reason why they will not mention, of course, because they want to say that for court. And let's see. I want to make sure I get it all. He said he killed her. He was paid to kill her. So we have to ask ourselves, is that part of the information that he gave? The who, the where, the why. And if indeed he was ordered to kill her, then where is that person and why haven't they been arrested? So see, that's another question. If somebody paid, did he ever tell who the somebody is? Because if he did, wouldn't they have arrested that person by now, or is he just making that up? Then the flip side is she can go to the computer, get information, Vicky, tell him a lot of stuff that was going on, do some dilly-dallying around. This is his way to get back up there to Lauderdale where she is so they can plan this break. I don't think it's a false confession. I don't know just yet. But they're saying there's more to it than just him confessing.
Yeah.
And he gave a reason why, and that there was evidence in the room that obviously he knew about, and he couldn't have known unless he was in the house.
They were saying there's something about a hammer.
That was mentioned in my commentary that she was hit with a hammer and her throat slit. But that commentary I brought you by News Nation, the lady was saying that perhaps he didn't do it because he didn't mention that he hit her with the hammer. But if you're doped up, maybe you don't remember hitting her with a hammer if you're geeked up under the influence of
Right.
drugs. The other article I pulled up said he was near her at the time. So I don't know if near means in another apartment, down the street. How did he get in? And I've been looking for content just now while you've been talking, and I can't even find an article that even explains the situation of her, just that she was found dead. Welfare check. Did she know the suspect is what I'd like to know. I'm not hearing anything about that in any content playing. Did they know each other? Did they ever meet each other? Did they have mutual friends, acquaintances? Did he know somebody that lived in her apartment complex? How did he get in the building, her apartment? Was her apartment locked or unlocked? But we know it had to be locked because a neighbor would have easily went over there, checked the door handle, and found it was unlocked, and would have walked on in and found her herself or himself.
Yeah.
Very, very, very sad situation. But her son spoke very highly of his mother. She was a sweet person, a Christian, and he couldn't understand why anyone would want to murder his mom.
Some random,
But could it be that they did meet? Could it be that he was attracted to older women? Because what I find interesting is the similarity in the ages. Vicky White was 56. This woman was 58 at the time of her death.
Oh.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means he would have been even younger when he met the late Connie Ridgway.
Yeah, and
that
people get
7 years ago, he would have been 31, 30.
Yeah.
Could it be that he liked her, was interested in her, was flirting with her? She obliged. Hey, come on over.
Yeah.
Things went terribly wrong.
You never know, like on these dating sites and stuff.
Yes.
You have to be
because there are young men who are attracted to older women, vice versa. There are also men that are trying to find a come up. So they are bidding towards older women because they're trying to find somebody that's more settled. They think got some money, savings, checking, good job, home, car, somebody that will possibly be nice in the gift giving business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know if they knew each other in some way.
Yeah. But everything I pulled up in Google is just nothing's telling me nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what, I close my door. When I close the door behind me, I lock it every time now. And I live in a town that don't even have a stoplight in it.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a very small community, but I've gotten into the habit of locking.
Be careful because the sheriff said that in Indiana, nowhere is safe. Crime is everywhere. There's no such thing as, a safe community, a safe neighborhood, a safe subdivision, suburb. Crime has happened all over the world and in every part of the United States, country, rural, suburbs, high rise, locked gates, gated communities. If somebody wants to get you, they'll get you. That's just the bottom line. If they want to harm you, they'll harm you by all means necessary.
Yeah, look at where Summer lived. Up in the beautiful forest and, Rogersville, another Rogersville.
Unfortunately, yes.
So this was in Alabama, right?
I'm not sure if it was Alabama or Tennessee because he has ties to Tennessee, I thought.
And they're taking him to Alabama tonight.
Yeah, he should be there already. He's just only going there to be arraigned, and then he's going to the Department of Corrections. He's going to a state prison.
Yeah. I'm surprised they gave out any kind of time frame because for security reasons, usually.
No, they weren't going to tell. They weren't going to tell when he was leaving that jail in Indiana because they didn't want a barrage of people. They just said when he was going to arrive down here.
Right.
But I'm surprised perhaps people coming out to do something I don't know.
Yeah. I'm surprised they even allowed that much to go out because
he might be going to a location that they're not going to reveal because you got to remember it's an in and out process. There's no lingering allegedly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, with Con Air and stuff, when they're transferring inmates, they don't let you know when you're being transferred. They don't let you know. They don't let you know anything for security reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to a month before you'll hear from your loved one, and you don't know where they're at, you know. And they do this weird thing. They fly them all over the country. Then it's like a diesel therapy kind of thing that they do. Federal prison is way different than state prison. And so Casey will be in state prison his whole life. It won't be federal at all.
I don't know. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I was really surprised that they released any kind of information as far as his comings and goings and when he would be arraigned and all that.
Yeah. Well, Singleton was adamant about getting him down there. You know, he was adamant about that days ago before we knew anything about this car at the car wash and all that. That was his main focus, was getting him back. You know, I was kind of like, well, damn, we don't even know where he is. We don't know where they are to get him back.
Well, yeah, because
they parked that truck at a car wash, and that's the end of that.
Right.
Even though it was a week or so, which I find just interesting. But like they said, if no one's reporting a car stolen, it's just a car sitting in a car wash.
Right.
So that's the reason why I sat there. See.
And also, there is the topic of medications. Mm-hmm. What kind of medications was he on? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, maybe not taking, and you're going through some, you know, that psychiatric medicine is hard to go through, to come off of it. The withdrawals are horrible, and it can make you feel really not very grounded at all, and just if you're being treated for anxiety or whatever.
Do you think he knows right from wrong?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It would be hard to tell. I would have to meet him. He's probably one of those intelligents, because they say he's got schizophrenia. Is that what it is?
I'm not sure. I just know he has mental issues, and no one has verified exactly what those are. If there's more than one, nothing's been revealed.
Right.
Just that he was on meds at one time and has been off of them at one time.
Yeah, and it makes you deathly sick when you go cold turkey off medication. And
that's what I was wondering, if he was actually being treated for meds before he left out of the jail.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if they were talking about meds beforehand, when he was in and out of the prison system, you know what I'm saying? Or here recently.
It's hard to know. I mean,
understanding when they're talking.
My son suffers from PTSD and it's more of a borderline multiple personality disorder, which gets confused with bipolar a lot.
I read that.
It's misdiagnosed a lot. And so I've been learning a lot more about that by reading books and stuff, because it runs in our family. And the multi-personality disorder is more is harder to manage, because you're on a constant mood swings. You know, your days can change like a blink of an eye. But so just trying to learn more about that. I don't know his history or anything like that, and what if he was on medication. If he was while he was there, then that could explain why he wasn't thinking very clearly, and why they maybe got high-centered, maybe got sick or something, and they laid up in the motel room. Who knows?
How do you feel about the mom? What do you think how the mom feels at this moment, knowing her child is dead? She'll have to ship her body back here for funeral services, if indeed she has them.
Yeah, that's just a nightmare that no mom ever should have to go through.
Do you think she told her mom the truth of what she was going to do?
No, I don't think.
Why not?
Because if she had told her mom would have tried to talk her out of it.
But that doesn't mean that she would have done it.
Her mom maybe would have called down to her employment.
Okay.
down to the
What
sheriff's
about when she
office.
got on the road? Do you think she called her mom to let her know she was safe?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a nice thing to do. Just I don't know. I probably
Well, you know,
wouldn't
she
have.
acted normal the day before and the day of checking in the hotel. As Singleton says, he believes she didn't want to face her mom that morning. She left the hotel, went straight to her job. You have to admit she's cold and she is callous, because to leave an elderly person behind without such a word, a hint of
Right.
nothing, leave behind her and a dog and just go off into the sunset with a felon murderer, it's pretty cold.
Right. Not even maybe. Hopefully, she wrote her a letter or something and stuck it someplace in the mail, or
Explaining why she did what she did.
yeah. Maybe that could be the closure that her mom needs.
Do you think they were getting along while they were on the road?
No, I don't. I think in the beginning they probably, it was, all, the heat was on, but then after reality set in, I think that lust quickly faded. You know how it is when you're traveling with somebody, especially someone you don't know and you've never been around for a whole day.
Yeah. True.
Because
that's how you learn people, is by living with them.
Oh, heck yeah. Travel,
So
take a trip with them.
Living with him in a hotel, she learned his ways, things about him. Because one could say they learned each other a lot talking on the phone for 2 years, but still not the same as being alone with you up in the morning, night, noon. Then they're under high pressure because they're on the run. So attitude would be up, down, emotional. Then you count he has mental problems. She possibly has some mental problems. It would be, yes, a recipe for disaster. But then one could say they could have got along just peachy.
Right. Nobody knows what went behind the walls.
He's talked. He has talked. I brought commentary to that earlier. He has talked, and they will save all that probably for court, to what he told detectives, because the sheriff said he didn't really want to get into the details of what he exactly told the detectives, but it wasn't mutual. It wasn't that she orchestrated this break, that it was mutual between the two. Did he have remorse? No, which I was thinking, wow, really? Because people kept thinking, a lot of people, that he had already killed her. But I said maybe he indeed liked her or needed her. Maybe he's not a high-functioning adult, and he knew he needed her. Because if he's not a functioning adult to where he can rationalize being on his own, he would have gotten caught. Because once again, he's 7 foot tall. You're standing out. You're not wearing a wig. You're not wearing a mask. You're not, you could have had a blonde curly wig on, a tall guy. Then you have to worry about, does the wig look natural or not? See, there's all those things you have to notice. That's why it was best that he laid low in the car. He should have never even got out of a car except for to go into the hotel. And as I said, she should have paid for a place to go to where he didn't have to walk around.
Exactly. Yeah.
He never should have been walking around. Never should have been walking around.
I'm surprised they didn't head to Vegas or Florida or someplace exotic.
Yeah, I think they were tired. I think that's what was told to the sheriff. That's why they chose Evansville. They probably have been driving here, there, back roads. Naturally, when you're on back roads, the drive is going to be longer because you're avoiding interstates, and you may have to stop if there's an accident or something. So they probably were tired, wanted to get some sleep, rest, a little nookie in. She went to an adult store. What do you think about that? Her going to an adult store before even getting to Indiana.
Oh, I just feel bad for her mom to have to hear that.
Yeah. Why are you worried about toys or lingerie or whatever the hell she bought? You're on the run. As they say, old folks will say, use your imagination. Just do it the old way. Don't need no extra devices and stuff.
Well, I mean, and was that the first time that they had been intimate with each other?
They could have. They wanted to do some little extra stuff. Maybe he wanted role play. Maybe he wanted some extra toys. I don't want to say what I want to say, but I think you know where I'm going. Maybe he wanted a little something, something. Shut up, Queen.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But see, this is when you learn people when they're doing the most horrible of things. These other intricate details come out about them. And it's just
Right.
stuff that you would want to take to your grave unless you're an open person. And the fact that they said that she was quiet, didn't talk, you know damn well she would never wanted to hear this played back to her what she bought in the store, because at some point that's going to come out. If she was alive, they went to trial, you're going to hear
Yeah.
exactly what she bought in that adult store.
Right. Nosy Edna, huh?
Ah. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. That's funny. I haven't heard that name in a long time, Edna. You're too funny. We had a neighbor named Edna in Chicago growing up. She lived in the far end building, Miss Edna. Wow, that's funny. Yeah, but see, that's the thing about life. You don't know what's going to ever be told about you while you're alive or dead.
Right.
And if she's a quiet little mouse, mild-mannered, meek, she wouldn't want people to know she's buying paraphernalia from the adult store.
Right. All up in there.
Yeah, all up in that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I just feel bad for her mom to have to hear that kind of details, you know. Hopefully her mom's not on social media or watching the news.
It's
I
not gonna
know.
matter. They live in small town USA, baby. The grocery
do
store
they?
can be just like Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody will call her. Somebody will go ahead and repeat stuff, even though they know they shouldn't call her with gossip.
Yeah, I know. I had that happen because being in a small town, you know, I know it's like having an extended family. You can't go anywhere without somebody, you know, you go to the post office to get your mail.
Yeah.
You know, you run into people and they're like, "Oh, well, how is your son?" You know, you know, and you're just like,
what happened? Is he okay?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Do you think, let me ask this ultimate question. Do you think she has fraternized with other men in the jail and other prisons?
Oh, I really don't know.
Well,
I wonder,
see, what you have
you
to
know,
ask yourself is, what was so special about this person? Because he's heinous. He's killed people, shot at people. So think about that for a minute. Of all people for her to fraternize with, she would pick the worst one out of the bunch.
Well, did they have, I wonder if they had consent, or what do they call that, where the visiting, where they can physically like,
maybe.
I think you have to be married, but I'm not sure as far
I
as.
think so. Yeah, I think you have to be married. So that's what I'm saying. But they had to, who's to say they're saying she never visited him, but what would be funny if we found out that she had went up there? And then guess what? Use her own ID. Because how would the people in the town know that she went up there? They had the same last name. She probably wouldn't have to prove if she was married to him with the same last name on an ID.
Right. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going to be all wanting your marriage certificate and all that.
Yeah.
Be interesting. I thought that I had heard that she did go visited him.
Yeah, that started out in the beginning. That came out from Singleton, and that's why they said a lot of stuff he was saying was not true and accurate. That's why you have to be very careful when you're giving out information under these type of circumstances, because people run ragged with the information. And as you see, there's been differential from that rumor to who was driving the car here in Indiana versus what she was driving. Now he was driving. Then she shot herself. Then people are saying, well, how do you know? Blah, blah, blah. I don't doubt that she shot herself because he has no reason to kill her. He's already caught.
Right.
He didn't shoot back. So what are you going to gain by shooting her? If you did that, it'd just be for a thrill of killing somebody again.
Yeah. And I could see her thinking that she's not going to go to prison. She's not going to go.
She didn't want to go back to the jail. Imagine going back to the jail that you just ran from. She's running from something. Do you agree that she was running from something?
Well, she was up for being the employee of the year.
Okay, but I'm asking you, do you believe she was running from something?
Herself.
Okay. See, that's why I'm trying to make people understand. A lot of people want to just focus on him, put all the blame on him. You can't put the blame on him because he's already an open book. He's a criminal, point blank. There's no icing, no fluff. There's nothing to, drill a hole in to try to figure him out.
Yeah, there's no shame in his game. He is who he
She's
is.
the one that's already an open book. She's the one who was living a certain life and people thought they knew her. So to me, the story really is about Vicky White, because without Vicky White, you didn't have a story. He would have been just a random guy going to court in June for murdering some lady. How would we have known about that? Do you understand? The only way we would have known about it is if it was on the Law and Crime Network or Court TV.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes, and I kind of think, well, maybe she was suicidal and just wanted to go out with a, with a big bang,
So
kind of like.
basically, then you were saying she was suicidal for 2 years.
That's a long time to be suicidal, but it's.
Exactly, because that's how long allegedly they had been talking.
Yeah.
She was talking to him while he was at the Donaldson prison, which means they built a rapport when he first went to Lauderdale years ago. So she obviously had to have reached out to him or gave her phone number to him, balled it up in a piece of paper. Why did she choose him? See, there's so many questions you can ask, because as I've told people, I do feel like she was running from her life. She was bored with her life, probably insecure, not dating, afraid to date, whatever. She picked what was closest to her, which was somebody she met in the jail. They built some type of rapport. They kept talking. Now there's feelings involved, either side. She's attached. She's telling him how much she cares for him. Eventually the subject comes up about getting him out of there. I don't know if that happened here recently or last year, a year ago, 6 months. I don't know. Maybe he'll tell us the truth. But my thing is, I think it would still be somebody else. If not Casey, there would have been another Joe Blow, because she was that weak-minded and spiritless.
Yeah.
I don't know why this alarm is going off. Somebody's alarm.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I believe this would have happened.
She didn't love herself very much.
No, she didn't love herself enough. No, she didn't feel worthy. Because let's keep it true. Let's keep it real. There are tons of men out here, maybe not in her town, the neighboring town, but there's somebody out here that would have been happy to date her with all her flaws, sneakiness, dark side, whatever people think of her. There would have been somebody there. She didn't give herself a chance to go out, meet, greet. She got hung up on something she sees every day. As we learn from the great movie Silence of the Lambs, you covet what you see every day. That's what she did.
Yeah. Surrounded with criminals.
Yeah, all day. So she's become immersed with those people. She didn't know how to cut it off, shut it off. Like most people, they leave work, they can't wait. Take the uniform, shoes off, thinking about their job till it's time to go in the job the next morning. She probably was fantasizing during the job, when she checked out, at home, eating, feeding the dog, walking the dog. She's thinking about Casey or some other bloke in the damn jail.
Yeah.
So I asked her, do you think that she's talked to other inmates from other jails or prisons? What was your answer?
I don't think so.
Why? Tell me why.
I think she was just focused on her her ex-husband that was helping him with his transition. And I think that she was just
you believe that? Do you actually believe what you're saying?
I don't know. I haven't had a whole lot of time to process.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be mean, but what I'm saying is you have to think, we don't know how long that husband and her were living in the same house, because that hasn't been revealed. But we do know for 2 years, these two allegedly were talking. So where was the husband at that time?
Dying.
Huh?
He was apparently dying from Parkinson's.
But I'm saying where? In the same house?
I think they were living in the same house.
Yeah, I know. Listen to this. I'm saying, we know he allegedly was with her. They were not together, but divorced. What I'm saying is, how long have they been living this way, divorced? That's what I'm saying. Because for 2 years, she had been coinciding with him. So listen to what I'm saying. They're in the same house together 2 years ago, but yet she's calling and talking to an inmate. Now you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would that work out? They had a mutual understanding. You do your thing, you do mine. Why were they even living together? Was he sick 2 years ago? See, we don't know.
Yeah.
Was it just her house? She sold it, so one would say her name was on the deed. Was his name ever on the deed? See, those are all the questions that we have no answers to. Where's his friends, family? You haven't heard anything about the ex-husband's family, friends? What was the real situation between the two for them to be living together up until here recently?
Yeah.
It's 1,000 questions with no answers.
And what kind of beneficiary, if he had any kind of life insurance.
All that. Did he leave her anything? Estate, what?
If he has kids and if they were beneficiaries.
All of that. Did he leave her as a beneficiary of a life insurance? Did she take out her own private policy? See, 1,000 questions. That's why I said she possibly had more than $90,000. She had to have a check in the savings account. She was frugal.
Yeah.
See, nobody even addressed any of that. Just kept going on and on about 90,000, 90,000.
Right.
So you want me to believe she didn't have no damn money in her savings and checkings?
Yeah. Because her mom said that she had been saving up and was very frugal and very smart about saving money. So, you know, it's too bad that she didn't.
I won't doubt that she also borrowed from her credit card to fund this.
Right.
It said she cut off her credit cards. Bet you she borrowed from it. Got a cash advance.
She got a cash advance on them all.
I'm saying hypothetical. I won't doubt if she did that. She cut off the credit card is what was said. So why would I not think she didn't borrow off her credit card?
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was in it pretty deep. So at that point, I mean, it was all, she just kind of threw everything in, you know, all bets.
So what type of mindset is that to you? That's willing to do all of this for a complete stranger that obviously she thinks she knows, who has a violent past. Why in the world would somebody go to these lengths to forfeit their life for this man?
I have no clue. Like I said, maybe she just wanted to go out like Bonnie and Clyde, you know, she had lived that good life her whole life, and you know, perhaps she didn't live a double life kind of living thing.
So maybe indeed Mr. Johnson was right. She has a dark side.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes people are so good that they just want to be bad.
Well, maybe.
You know, but you see it a lot.
Price to pay, but then why kill yourself? Why not just pay?
I know, but you see it all the time in churches and stuff and religions. People that are, you know, always on that good road, you know, of not doing any kind of anything sinful.
Oh, I know. People pleasing, always being a people pleaser, always doing what people want you to do, expect you to do. I get that. But to me, this is extreme. I could see wearing your hair long. People like you with the long hair. One day you decide to say, hell, I want to cut it all off. That to me is okay, defiant to some degree. Still a choice. But breaking someone out of damn jail is not like wearing lipstick, hot red lipstick, and a miniskirt.
Right. It's like rebellion on a
way too damn far.
Millionth degree.
Yeah, because now you're committing a felony. Then you stole somebody's identity. Let's talk about that. Whose identity did she steal?
Yeah.
Inmate, co-worker, mom.
Yeah.
Did she get an actual ID from the driver license department because she had to buy the cars, you also have to register the tags. See, that's what people are not focusing on. You can't just buy a car and drive it down the street.
Yeah. And I see with the stuff that they had all lined out, like the pictures of the cash and the guns and everything. And then there was the license plates too. And I wondered how they were able to switch cars out and have legal license plates on them all.
That's the thing about it is when she's using these fake IDs, are they actually valid state IDs to where she could go take them into a clerk's office and register a car? Because even if I buy a car from a one owner, I still have to register that car.
Yeah.
They're not going to give me their tag because now they're no longer the owner of the car. So I've got to try to ride around with no tag to get to the clerk's office and put a tag on the car. How did she do that?
Yeah. I thought about that when I was mowing my lawn earlier.
Yeah, because did they take the tag off that truck and then put it onto the Cadillac that she bought? Same thing with the truck. I can't remember watching the pictures of the Ford. Did they take the tag off of that? But that wouldn't make any sense because you're leaving a trail. If you actually register a tag and then you go put it on another car, they can just say, well, let's go look for this tag, but we don't know what type of car they may be putting it on. And then all the car swappings. You're spending a lot of money, $6,000 here, $7,000 there.
No doubt. I'd been in, like I said, I would have went someplace exotic and been drinking some pina coladas on an island somewhere or something.
Yeah, but she was too risky to get on an airline ticket.
That's true.
On a plane, because you don't know when they realized we were gone. So that's why they would have never been able to get on an airplane, because she didn't know when they knew that they were gone. Now, luck of the draw, it was 6 hours later, which is a very long time.
Yeah.
6 whole hours. She could have been on an airplane, but she didn't know when they knew they were gone.
Yeah. That's when a police scanner, being a police officer, having a police scanner.
Somebody in the chat says the original car was registered and they took it off and put it on the truck. The license plate came back to the Ford Edge, according to the police cam. Okay.
So they did move the license plates then
from the Ford, I guess, from the Ford truck to the Ford Edge to the truck. See, that's why you shouldn't have left that truck in the car wash.
And what about the Cadillac?
Don't know.
It's a lot of vehicles to be keeping track of.
Yeah, it's too many vehicles. That's why I said she should have went and got a place first. If you're going to try to do this the right way and stay on the run, you should have worked it all out in your head. What am I going to do right here? What if this breaks down? What am I going to do with a tag? What am I going to do? Because you're still showing yourself, even if you got on eyeglasses, bifocals, red wig, curly wig, you're still showing yourself. Because you got to be able to negotiate to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's the car that they wrecked, Kimberly. The Cadillac. The U.S. Marshals rammed their truck into the Cadillac in the ravine.
They would have been better off to have a third person for sure if they could have trusted a third party,
Mm-hmm.
Like the homeless person.
Yeah, because so far nobody can explain the Ford Edge if it actually was running or not running. Because I tell people, what's going to be interesting if you find out there's nothing wrong with the Ford Edge. They dumped it. But then you have to ask yourself, how did you get out from where you were? Because allegedly that was rural, where the Ford Edge was dumped.
Yeah, and how do you pack all them guns and everything walking down the street?
Exactly. Ting.
So they had to have two vehicles then.
Yeah. That's why I said, how do you know she didn't park another car, the truck, somewhere around there?
Yeah, and they just swapped out vehicles.
Uh-huh.
But they should have took that orange vehicle and drove it as far back into the back country as they could have.
Yeah.
And off of a cliff or something.
Anything.
Anything.
All those cars should have been dumped in water.
Yeah.
How easy is it to go at night down the ramp to the lake and let the car roll down? It will sink.
That makes me think that he's not very mentally calculated.
But that's why I said to people, when people kept going on and on that she was dead, he killed her, I said, first of all, you're just judging the situation of his crimes. That You're not really thinking if he has the mental capability to be on the run. You're trying to look, group them the same, and they're not. Killing people and going on the run is two different things. Anybody can go shoot somebody, cut somebody's throat. See where I'm going?
Yeah, that don't take much time.
But the fortitude to stay on the run is totally different. They're not even in the same ball game.
Right.
You have to have a certain type of mindset to go underground.
Yep. Yep.
Buying cars, standing out in front of cameras, parking, getting a hotel across the street from the sheriff's department. You might as well just went and turned your damn self in.
Yeah, I agree. Almost like an episode that should be on the World's Dumbest Criminals.
Kind of like this story here. A guy breaks into a house and goes into the refrigerator and makes himself a sandwich. Sits down at the table, eats the sandwich. He gets up and he leaves. Shortly after this break-in, he's apprehended. And they ask him about breaking into such and such's house. And basically he's saying, no, I didn't break into their house. Yes, sir, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. What do you mean? Sir, you left your ID. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Fingerprints all over the place.
Well, not just that. He left the whole ID. It was in the floor.
Oh, he did actually leave it.
So you missed that. True story.
True story?
Dropped the ID, sat at the kitchen table, made a sandwich, walked out of the house, and was later apprehended. Denied ever robbing the people's house. And they said, we know you were in there for a fact. He says, no, I was never there. Sir, you left your damn identification and fell on the floor.
Damn,
So maybe when you go rob people's houses, don't carry your damn identification with you.
Right? I don't know if criminals are just getting stupider or dumber by the day, or just seems like that people get caught for the dumbest in the...
Because a lot of times they're not planning it all the way out. You have to count if they're inebriated, if they're on drugs, alcohol, they have mental issues, because a lot of people commit crimes that are actually mentally, disturbed. They have schizophrenia, blah, blah, blah. There's just thousands of things that's going on with people when they commit crime. Just like there's a channel in the YouTube queue that's very interesting. It's called The Doorbell something. It just shows you people who are committing crimes, ringing the people doorbells, and the people got the doorbell cameras up and they're trying to steal stuff off their porch and, taking their packages and just doing all kind of crazy stuff, creeping around their house. And it's just amazing how that little camera can just show your whole damn face, the car you pulled up in. They don't know that.
Yeah. Just bebopping all around.
Yeah. And I'm sure the detectives are telling them, yeah, I know it was you. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was.
Well, surely by now people should realize that there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah, but the thing is, if I'm somebody in the street and I don't care about anything, I'm not keeping up with the fact that man has made a doorbell camera. You understand?
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking for the camera in the sky, not the camera in the doorbell. Because they don't keep up with stuff.
But most people are keeping up with the technology.
Yeah. Some, the people who care.
Yeah,
you have people like me, I'm going to be truthful with you. I don't care for any of this stuff, really. To some degree, it's okay. Beneficial sometimes, all this email, texting, blah, blah, blah. But then at some point, it becomes a burden to be checking something all the time. Hey, did you get this? Hey, did you get this? I sent this to you. Did you paste this? Did you copy this? Hell no, I don't want to do it.
Yep.
I don't care. I'm going to be truthful with you. I don't care for that stuff. I don't care to copy nothing, paste nothing. Why should I? Why should I have to copy, paste something?
Yeah.
Because that's the world we're in, and now it's protocol.
Digital. Yeah, it's the digital age. And with the cell phones and stuff, I learned a lot going through my son's trial and whatnot, as far as how much stuff they can pull up and how
everything.
Oh yeah, every single text message, every picture, nothing is
especially
deleted.
when you use that damn Google and you turn on the location, it's a wrap. It's going to show every time you went in and searched for Lowe's, Home Depot, what time the nail salon closed. All that shit comes back up. It'll even send a message letting you know, you want to check to see where you were yesterday? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Your memories in Google, the pictures you've taken, what you posted to Facebook 2 years ago, all that stuff. Notification. It's like a little person in there with a damn spyglass.
Yep. And people are worried about a microchip. Well,
I wouldn't doubt it, because what I find interesting is seeing something come across the screen in, like, let's say Facebook or Newsbreak, and you were just talking about the situation on the phone with somebody. Let's say you were talking to somebody about robbing a bank. And the next thing you know, the next ad that comes up on the phone is about why you should bank with Citibank.
Yeah.
You have to admit that's odd.
I know. Yeah. If you stop too long on a Facebook scroll on a post, then and look at something, then all of a sudden.
Yeah, it flashes across social media, Facebook especially. I do believe they have somebody watching you.
Yeah. Like you post a recipe on your Facebook page, and then all of a sudden your feed turns into nothing but recipes.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. You can't tell me something in that computer, it's not digesting your voice and what you're talking about. It's creepy as hell.
I know. And then but you hear people, like with the whole vaccination for COVID and whatnot, people not wanting to get the vaccination because of the maybe it's connected to the microchip, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're carrying a cell phone around that pretty much does all that.
For you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's why I was so surprised about Summer Wells's case. I've been following that from day one, and I wasn't going to get my mind into another case, and then this happened, and kind of like Gabby Petito, it kind of throws you for a loop.
Well, I must say this one has been a welcome break from that, because I try not to talk about her case, because it's not really about her, it's about the other buffoonery going on, and I don't want to be a part of that, and I don't want to indulge in that.
Right, exactly.
It's not useful. I mean, it's one thing to make content about what the stupid stuff they did or said, or what Pookie said, somebody said, but even at some point that becomes redundant.
Yeah. I was really surprised that the digital evidence didn't come back for that. That was
it probably has. I don't have to tell you that it has.
That's true.
See, that's the thing. We bitch and moan about stuff that we really don't have any verification of.
I think
same thing with this case. Who's to say they hadn't been sitting out there for days watching them in Indiana?
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you. I know they've been over at the hotel 5 days, 4 days. I don't have to tell you somebody called in a tip, saw the truck here, this and that. I don't have to tell you nothing. But I don't care what anybody says. There's no way I would have watched 70 days and it's not a sting. They're fugitives. To me, a raid, a sting versus a fugitive is two different things to me. A fugitive means I'm looking for you. Why am I going to sit and watch you day for day for day? The first time I get an positive identification, verification of who you are, I'm coming in. I'm not going to sit here and follow you around to the mall and the ice cream shop and the adult toy store. For what?
Yeah, and putting other people's lives at risk.
Yeah, because that's what you're doing. So that's what I've gathered with this, is that he saw this on a Tuesday and they just bum rushed them yesterday.
Yeah.
That's strange to me.
Yeah, like you said, why didn't they send in a SWAT team?
Yeah, but see, that's the whole point. Why do you need a SWAT team? You are the U.S. Marshals. See, everybody has a different role to play. You have your police, sheriff, bounty hunter, U.S. Marshals, CIA, FBI. See where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So why do you need a SWAT team when you're the U.S. Marshals? That's your job. You hunt fugitives.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand, when did they actually get an ID of who they were and what day was it? Was it actually verifiable on Monday?
That's
Or
a
did
good
you have
question.
knowledge days ago who they were and you just did not go in?
That would have been really, if they knew days ago and they didn't go in, that would have been very irresponsible.
Well, see, and that's why people are talking when the man says, I called on a Tuesday, nobody did anything.
Yeah.
So the cop is like, well, we can't just go worry about something that nobody's reporting anything about. So it's up to you if you want to tow it since it's your property. So by law, it's 48 hours for the law officials to tow it. But that's the point. If nobody's calling it in, there's nothing to track it to. So maybe that's what the issue was. Not that they were being irresponsible. It's just that there was nothing coming in about the car itself. Or
Yeah.
was it? They didn't say anything.
The cops did run it, and then the U.S. Marshals ran it, but it took like a day. I'm kind of remembering a little bit of something about that earlier today. I heard that the U.S. Marshals did get a positive
hit.
Yeah, a hit on that. Yeah.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is, what day was that?
Yeah.
Because I thought they said this started on Sunday. I could have sworn I played something that the information came out on Sunday.
I'd have to go back and rewatch it. Rewatch the it was the man that owned the car wash that he's given his interview, and he goes
he
through
started
the
on Tuesday when he noticed it on the camera.
Yeah.
Next day he's calling the people. So then you got to count that to be 2 days later before it ever got towed. So that'd been by Thursday got towed. That's still a long span between Thursday and now Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't send any land speed records of, it seems like it would have hit automatically once once it was ran by the local police.
But then you got to remember, she used the alias, remember, to buy the Ford.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so then you'd have to have known ahead of time that the Ford had a fake tag linked to her in order to connect it to the truck, the second truck.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to remember, 6 days went by with the Ford truck and the tow yard, that situation.
So the truck had to have been.
Because remember, the first truck was at a tow yard. Nobody knew nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a jacked up situation. That whole situation about the trucks and the it was confusing.
Yeah, and she picked up. Okay, so the truck got towed, and she picked
him up on camera at the car wash in the Cadillac.
And then the cops seen him and
no. I'm saying he left the truck, the second truck, the F-150, and they have her on camera picking him up from the car wash in the Cadillac, car number 3.
Yeah. And then that's when they started getting pursued by the police.
Well, yeah, they knew then what to go look for them in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So really, they got caught because of the car swapping.
Yep.
Very interesting information, though. And sadly, to give others ideas of what not to do.
I know. That's what I'm always wondering.
Well, I won't do that now, will I?
But it doesn't seem like criminals are getting smarter.
I'll just make sure I find a place to go stay first. That way I can go straight to that location and lie down and be still.
Yeah, an abandoned ranch house out in the middle of nowhere.
That's what they should have done. They could have easily just got on a Greyhound somewhere or Uber to one place to the other, then called a Greyhound in another city and then rode on to where they wanted to go to a house. You could always catch a cab somewhere.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth closed on your ride, because that's the whole thing. You're going to have to be seen so long as you're in public. That's just it, to get from point A to point B. If you don't have it mapped out properly. It's a very interesting story.
Yeah, and if you're 6'9", your chances of blending in with the common man is not very well.
That's why he didn't have any business outside. He really needed her. That's why I was trying to explain to people when this story first broke. I said, what you don't understand is he could go on the run by himself, take all her money, dump her somewhere. But do you know if he has the mental capability to do that? He stands out. So that means he's going to have to try to change his image because he can't do anything with his height.
Right. What do? Chop your legs off at the knees, you know?
Yeah. So I think he realized he needed her.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. How long had?
And he probably wanted the company. He's talked to her for 2 years. He may have liked her to some degree. It was nice to have the comfort of a woman. He hadn't been with a woman. So you got to think about all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Your body, comfort, sex, whatever.
Touch, hugs, kisses.
Mm-hmm.
How long had he been incarcerated before this all happened?
Probably 2015. That's when he went on the crime spree.
So almost 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in the Donaldson prison.
So, you know, it has changed in 7 years out here for them. And you got to remember, too, like if you go camping for 10 days or something out in the wilderness and you don't see moving cars and lights and sounds, and I mean, that's all overstimulation. And I've never been to jail or anything like that. But then I imagine that's pretty overstimulating depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
But
and that 7 years and almost 7 years of not being able to walk around, move around, stretch your legs, except for going to the shower, to eat in the cafeteria, the day roll if you did that, but that's it.
Yeah, you're institutionalized at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of needed.
He's also an addict, so that usually comes into play once free. I got to get a hit of something. So I also wonder, did they go find drugs? Because the question was asked, were drugs found? And the sheriff said nothing of significance. That doesn't make any sense. So that sounds like something was there.
Maybe a baggie or some residue or.
Yeah. Because to say nothing of significance means it's something, but it's not worth me bringing up a charge.
You're right. Because he's already hung anyway.
Yeah, and he's already probably smoked it up, whatever it was.
Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if he was using, and I'm
sure he got drugs. That's the thing about people who get high. It doesn't matter how long they've been in. If they still have the urge, they will walk out of jail, prison that one day and go straight to the dope dealer and find the dope.
That's true.
That's the most interesting thing about people who got high. They walk out of prison, been down years, no drugs, no alcohol, and go straight to the corner and get some dope.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and I wonder if he got some, did he offer her any?
Yeah. You know, and maybe when they met the homeless guy, he hooked him up with some, something. And
yeah, great
they sat around in the motel room and he sat and geeked out. And God, imagine that nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I said.
In lockdown with, with somebody that's on meth and tweaking their heads off.
Yeah.
And paranoid, staring out, looking out the window every 5 seconds.
And then that's another thing. She knew about his history. She also knew about his history. So why in the world would you want to be with this person who's shot people, killed people, now a drug addict on top of that, gets out, let's say he wanted some drugs, finds some drugs, and you're sitting here, never used drugs in your life, and watching this guy you're enamored with get high right in front of you. Can you imagine? That's a hell of a first date.
Oh, yeah.
It's very crazy. Very crazy.
Yeah, and she had already, pretty much put through her whole life into the pot.
Yeah.
And she didn't have nowhere else, nothing to go back to.
Yeah. She
I mean, She could have went back and turned herself in, you know,
Well,
just
that's what a lot of people have said. Why not just end it? Be done with it.
she could have walked out of the motel room and, you know, and crossed the street and turned herself in over there.
Somebody said that when she was driving at the car wash. Why didn't she just go back home, or go on with her own life?
Go back, say I had a moment of insanity and moved in with mama and for a minute till trial was over or whatever, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
she would have been a broke down mess, because she would have done probably 13, 14 years in there.
You think she would have done that long? She wouldn't have made it out.
She might have got out for good behavior.
Never been in trouble before.
She would have been a mess.
She wouldn't have made it. She would have had to like be in protective custody, or because she wouldn't make it with the inmates. It's kind of like sexual predators and snitches. They have to be like in special yards and stuff, because they won't make it in general population. And that same goes for officers. They just don't do well in prisons. And she knows that. And, you know, I wouldn't want to go back and face all the people that I worked for and disappointed, you know?
Yeah. And the thing I think is interesting, that Singleton was hoping that she'd live, because like he said, I don't wish any ill will on her. But the fact that he actually thought she would come back and tell something, I thought that was very interesting. I thought, this is what got you in this mess with her. You put too much stock in her. Even at the end, you're hoping she makes it through to come back to tell you what you think she should tell you about why she did this. You know what I'm saying?
No, say that again.
I said the fact that Singleton thought she was going to come back and tell him what happened. It's like he's still putting stock into this broken person who he did not know. She was not going to come back and tell you nothing, because you see, she killed herself.
Right.
And then she ended up dying.
Well, you know, he probably looked at her as a friend, as a companion, worked with her for years.
Yeah, I don't think he really grasped the hold of really what I'm trying to say. It really accepted that she did all this stuff.
Yeah, it just didn't sink in.
I think he was just shocked.
It's kind of like when your kid, you know, does bad things, and then you get a phone call, and you know, they're telling you that he's shot. You know, you go into shock.
Yeah.
And you're like, even though the news paints him as a bad person and they're on the front page of the newspaper, they're still a person to you. You still love them and care about them.
Yeah.
And you know their heart, and you don't understand, why did they do this? This isn't the person that they are. This is just so bizarre. How did they even meet them people? Why were they hanging out with that person?
Yeah. But it happens. That's why I tell young people all the time, you have to be very careful the company you keep. You have to be careful talking to people you don't know, going along with people, giving people rides. It's all the same. You don't know people, and you may get into a situation you cannot get out of. You won't be able to talk your way out of.
Exactly. You know, I look back at the day, I'm 50, and I look back, and we used to pick up hitchhikers and, you know, and lived very much on the edge. And I don't know how I made it this far, but.
Yeah. Well, I can say the same. That's why I said y'all make mistakes dealing with people, you know.
But now I think, you know, I thought about selling my home and buying a Winnebago and hitting the road and traveling all over the place. But I'm getting to the point where this world's so damn crazy that I don't know. I don't think it's that safe for.
Yeah, because you got to think about traveling on the road. That would be more dangerous than being at your house and your car don't work.
Exactly. Yeah.
That thing could break down anywhere, and now you're stuck out there with no alternate car to get around, to get that thing towed. Then where are you going to stay while it's being at the shop? See, those are things people don't think about if you traveling in one of those Winnebago things or campers with wheels. If it breaks down, it's got to go to the shop. So where are you then going to sleep while you're waiting on your vehicle to be repaired.
Yeah,
Then
you'd
you
have
got to
to
make
find.
sure you can find the right people to repair it. Are you in an area where they have appropriate people to fix it? You have to think about all those type of things.
Oh yeah, and when you're living
Exactly.
the van life, you're in those rural,
Yeah,
a lot of rural back road, and
that's not a life I would want for myself. I don't want nothing on the wheels. I don't want to be
national
riding around
forest.
sightseeing and then that thing breaks down in the dead of night. You're on your damn own.
I already know how you feel about the Teton forest and
Yeah, I don't see. Listen, I'm just a regular old black woman. I ain't going up in the mountain. I don't need to climb the highest peak. I don't need that type of stuff. I don't need to see. If I listen right now, I could go out this door, go down the street, and actually look at the Smoky Mountains. That's how close I am. What the hell do I need to go up in there and hike up in there to prove to somebody, hey, I climbed the highest peak to the waterfall. Look at me. Look at the waterfall. But guess what? Who's to say on the hike I don't damn pass out of breath, or get ate by a damn bear?
right,
You
yeah.
understand what I'm saying? I don't have nothing to prove. But there's people out there that has to go fly halfway around the world to hike up the highest peak, fall out, pass out because you're at the highest peak, you lose your damn breath. For what? Why can't you be near it and say, oh my God, look at that, that's beautiful. Let me take a picture.
Yeah.
Let me take a picture. Because when you are somewhere near the highest peak of something, you take a picture. You knew you could take a picture. Why the hell you got to go up in there?
I don't know. There's some
I want to
people.
climb the rock. You want to do what? I want to climb that rock. Why? I just want to.
Oh, I'm adventurous. I like to go like through the Columbia Gorge in Oregon. It's beautiful. There's tons of hiking trails back to the waterfalls and stuff. And it's just so green and mossy.
I know.
Forest.
And it takes a while to get up in there too, don't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So by then, Angela's already laying face down.
Yeah.
Now somebody's got to pick my big butt up and carry me back down.
Well, you know, I could walk up the mountains just fine. It's coming down, and then my knee decides to go out,
Right.
and I
And
didn't
that's the
think
thing
I
with
was
bad
going to make
knees.
it.
You're not supposed to go downhill. Exactly.
I
I'm
never
just one
had
of those
problems
people.
with my knees before, and then that happened, and I didn't know I was going to make it back to the truck.
I love nature, trust me, because I'm around greenery, rose bushes, all that kind of stuff. I love it. It's a turn on. It's gorgeous. But personally, I don't want to go in the Smoky Mountains. I don't want to go in the rocks. I don't want to do any of that. I can look at it from afar and appreciate it for what it's worth, but I don't have to be a part of it to say it's pretty.
Yeah.
I just don't have to do that. And I'm worried about people. I'm leery of people who feel like they got to be in it. You know, like getting in the ocean.
Yeah.
You want to go down in the water to see what exactly? To prove there's fish down there? I want to see the shark. I want to see the whatever you're looking for down there. But see, what you got to hope is that you bring your butt back up out of there. And people don't think about that, like sailing across the world. Okay, well, you got to be prepared for that, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so what happens when the boat decides it's tired?
Exactly.
It's not funny, but it's the truth. The boat says, yo, George, I'm done. Trip over. What you gonna do? Hello, Curtis. What you gonna do when the boat says, hey, I don't want to sail around the world no more. I want to go watch Netflix.
Yeah.
I want some coffee. Because I love coffee. That boat says, hey, I want to watch Netflix. Something's good on. There's a story about a jailer who took her boyfriend out of the jail. It's coming on tomorrow, 8 p.m. I can't watch it because we're sailing around the damn ocean.
Yeah.
I hear the tsunami coming. We're gonna take this bad boy in, land it. What we're gonna do? See, no, I don't need to do all that. I'm good, Curtis. Thanks, Curtis.
And then there's those people that have to have that Captain Dan moment on the edge of the boat, you know, in Captain Dan on Forrest Gump.
What do you mean?
The movie Forrest Gump,
Mm-hmm.
where Captain. I'm getting some kind of echo.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so Captain Dan goes to the edge of the boat, and he's like has his going crazy moment, and there's like he's riding out the storm, and he has this coming to God moment, you know, where the waves in the sea just calm and down, and he has this epiphany. Yeah, it's called the Captain Dan moment. That's what I call it. It's like living on the edge. Some people
So I
have
thought
to
you were trying to say you're standing on the edge of the boat.
Yeah.
No, I'm not standing on the edge of nothing. I don't even think I'm going to be on the boat because Queen is afraid of water. So that's going to be a problem.
Some people have to have that moment, though, before they finally
Well, it's
get
like
it.
the girls that were on the boat recently taking selfies and they fell over.
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, she got injured. See, that's very dangerous. Why do you need to be taking pictures? So then guess what? She's in the hospital, got saved, taking a selfie of her face banged up, and the reporter says, I just find it strange you're still taking selfies after what just happened. You should not give a damn about a cell phone. This is the truth.
Give me that thing.
Right. The nurse should have came in and said, you will not be needing this. Go to sleep, little girl.
No more for you.
See, but that's the thing. It's crazy. Because you would think after that being such a traumatic experience, falling in that water, don't know if you're going to live, going to be saved. You get saved in the hospital, you lose it, and the first thing you do is grab your damn phone to get somebody's phone to take a picture of you banged up in the hospital. Honey, I don't want to look at you banged up in the hospital. You know, I'll tell you something. I saw this guy once. He was in a car wreck. This was about probably a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago. He took a picture of himself banged up, right? I mean, banged up bad. First thing I thought was, why are you taking a picture of yourself after being in a car wreck and posting it to Facebook of all places? Do you think people really want to see that on their timeline?
I don't know. I guess it depends on your friends.
He's so funny. Well, I think one of the friends should have said, hey, I haven't had my Wheaties this morning. No, thank you.
Right.
I just think there's certain things you shouldn't post to social media. And that's one of those things I don't think you should show is being in a hospital bed sickly. You know, there's something about that I don't like. I just don't think, I think that's a private moment. And I've seen people post pictures of their loved ones very ill and in grave health. And maybe they don't really mean any harm, but some people are just not going to take lightly to that. You taking pictures of grandma, she's on her deathbed, and you're taking pictures of her and posting it to social media. I just don't like that.
Oh, I flipped out on that happened to my aunt when she was transitioning.
Yeah.
And her stepdaughters took pictures of her when she was moments before her passing. And I flipped out on it. And they could not understand what my problem was.
Yeah, young people are different. Their mindsets are different. Their thinking mode is different. They're like that on the edge thing. They just do. They don't think. They do. They do, then think, and then maybe keep doing. They don't process things in a normal way to say, maybe I shouldn't do this. You know, because we're in this age of this, snap a picture every time you eat, snap a picture when you got your toes done, snap a picture when you get out of bed, snap a picture to show the dog barking. You know, it's excessive now. And it's redundant and really it's quite boring. Just snap every 5 seconds. You got to snap a picture every time. It's like you're driving down the road, looking out. Oh my God, look at that dog. He's got 3 legs. Take a picture.
Right.
Like, you know, give it a rest.
Yeah, I'm not much of a selfie taker, and I don't really take a lot of pictures.
Yeah, some people get offended when you take too many pictures. I knew somebody was like that. Said she didn't like the fact that people were taking selfies all the time. I thought, well, don't look at them.
Yeah.
You ain't got to look.
And times like that, too, when people are transitioning. That's sacred, and
Yeah,
that shouldn't be put on Facebook.
yeah. I
I was with my dad when he was going through his transition. He got cancer,
yeah,
and I stayed by his side for 3 weeks
yeah.
in the hospital, and there was none of that going on, you know. And yeah,
Well,
it was a,
I think
well,
you should
thank
join.
you
I'm
for
not going to
having
hold
me
you.
up on your
But what do you
panel.
think? Say what, baby?
I said, well, thank you for having me up on your panel.
Yeah.
This
Is there
is my
anything you
very,
can add
very,
pertaining to this storyline? What else you think is going to come out? I do think there's going to be more revealed, and I don't know how bad it's going to be pertaining to their relationship, courtship, but I think they're probably going to the phone and probably dig up a whole lot of dirty business.
oh, God, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with this one.
Yeah, I got that feeling that somehow something not so great, plural, will probably get out
I
pertaining
know.
to preferences, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the curiosity kills the cat. Once you get a little, couple days worth of information,
Yeah.
then like yesterday, it's really started for me.
Mhm.
And so today I've been on it, and you
Well,
almost
the cat has 9 lives, so they don't care about digging.
I know.
The cat's got 9 lives, so it's like we can go all day with digging and trying to see what we can find out. Give it to the public, see how they chop it up.
Right, but
They don't
it's summertime almost, and I want to go and do stuff besides sit on YouTube.
That sounds like a good plan to me, and I'm hoping I get out and do more things this year. Go some places, travel.
Yeah, definitely. Even
my
if it's
thing is-
just to go make a fire out and next to the lake and roast a hot dog and stare at
YouTube
the
will be
stars.
here. The news will still be in the same place. Facebook will still be in the same place. Social media would not have gone anywhere.
Right. Yeah, I didn't really get involved in true crime with the YouTubing until, June 15th. And then,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I just slipped down that rabbit hole, and it's just been craziness since. And I've backed off quite a bit. There's only a few that I tap into. The rest is just drama.
And sadly, it's 9, let's say 9 months, 11 months is vastly approaching.
I know it. Yeah. I hope we get answers. You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful week.
I will.
All right.
And I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That's Starry from Idaho. Thank you all so much for joining me. When I get more information pertaining to this case, pertaining to now just Mr. Casey White, he's alone now. He'll be facing murder charges and plus the new charges of breaking out of the jail with the aid of his decedent lover, Vicky White. I will bring you an update. This live was pertaining to a homeless man that he and Vicky found to check them into a hotel. Second week, she showed herself to pay the due bill on behalf of the homeless guy. Where is the homeless guy? I do not know. It is evident that they had at least 3 cars in traveling to these said locations out of Alabama, Tennessee, and then Indiana. The last car they wrecked, which was a Cadillac. I do not know what tag was put on it. If they borrowed it from the truck or they found some other way to put a tag on it. But nonetheless, it's over with. But I got a funky feeling there's going to be some extra goodies, jumping out of a hat pertaining to Vicky White and who she was and the things that she was doing and crimes that she enacted while trying to get she and this man on the run, Mr. Casey. It's a very baffling story. But as I said, people do crazy things for people that they think they're in love with, like lust, infatuation, obsession, whatever. And sometimes they have to learn the hard way that what they are feeling is not genuine, it's not real, and it's not conducive to good living, whole living, sacred living, peaceful living. And they have to learn the hard way. And in the end, she did. She allegedly, they're saying she killed herself and died, succumbed to her wounds. And now he's alone in Alabama, back in the hole again, back in prison again, the very place he could not wait to get out of, claiming he was picked on, shanked more than once. And now, after all of that, 1 week or so on the run, he's going back to the very place he loathed. But that's usually how it ends, that sometimes what you're running from, you never get away from. And when you do get away from it, you somehow make your way right back to the place, the very place you were dying and scratching and crawling to get out of. Isn't that amazing? Very interesting information. If you'd like to donate to this network, $ Beganji 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much for joining me. Have a safe week. I will be back with more stimulating conversation. Please check the queue, my library, for other content pertaining to the Crime Vault. I have not done that in a while, and I did a video the other day pertaining to a young lady out of California. It's an older story, who hooked up with a young man one late morning and unfortunately lost her life by his friend, associate. Very, very sad story. And it's also now being showcased on the Oxygen Network. Shanae is her name. She was 23 at the time, a nursing student with a small toddler son. And it's a very horrific story. I won't go into it, but please check out that information. And please pray for the couple that died down in the Bahamas. They are of this area, outside Knoxville, Tennessee. They had a travel agency in Maryville, Tennessee, and they are now decedent from something that happened on that trip to the Bahamas, and another man died as well. I do not know if it was carbon monoxide poisoning or if it was some other foreign agent, but we will wait to see what the lab brings back pertaining to their deaths. But they are locally from this area, lived here. I kind of think maybe they lived in Knoxville or North City somewhere, and then they had the agency out in Blount County. But nonetheless, they're no longer living. So prayers to their family, and please be respectful to their families. I think they're not really wanting to speak to anybody due to both the mother and father passing away. Thank you all so much for following the content. You all have a safe week, and this is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you so much.